What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. So today we have some very interesting news that I want to bring to your attention because my guess is you have completely missed this because nobody's really talking about it. I want to address what's going on between Russia and China because there are now reports that are saying Russia and China are doing the unthinkable when really Russia and China are doing exactly what they've been planning for years. I want to address what's going on there. Going to also talk about the $52 billion mistake that the United States could be making, and also address how senators are actually fighting it out to try to get their priorities passed before this pretty much midterm election, which is just in a few months. So we're going to see what happens there, but make sure you stick around for this entire video because you do not want to miss what's about to happen. So all I ask, if you can just spend 2 seconds, go ahead, hit that like button, consider subscribing, and let's get started. So, one thing I can tell you is I'm always, looking on different news stations, different reports, reading articles, listening to interviews. One of the things that I've heard very little about is how Russia and China have officially announced a new global reserve currency. Now, this is big because even though this is technically a new announcement, Russia and China have been talking about this for years. If you ever heard about the BRICS nations, this is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Those are the 5 nations. Well, according to the recent reports and the announcement, this new global reserve currency, this is going to be based on a basket of those 5 nations. Okay? Now, this new global reserve currency is actually going to be backed by something tangible. Not like the US dollar, which is backed by US debt. But this currency is going to be backed by rare earth minerals, such as gold and uranium and silver and copper and nickel. That's what it's going to be backed by. Now, the troubling part about all this is that this creates a massive threat to the US dollar. A massive threat. Because the US dollar, again, is backed by debt. Currently, about $30 trillion. But the new global reserve currency that was just announced, this is going to be backed by tangible goods. Now, these are goods that the United States and other countries are desperately trying to get their hands on. You think we are just okay with a country trying to just rack up as much gold as they can? No, definitely not. You think we are just going to allow countries to, get as much uranium and nickel and copper? No, because those are minerals that we need. So, while these rare earth minerals are becoming more valuable, the debt of the United States is becoming more risky. That's a problem. So, one thing I can tell you is this announcement that was made just last week, this is big. This is a big announcement, and honestly, nobody's really talking about it. So, I promise I will keep you updated on what's going on there, but this is something that is major that we need to watch out for. So again, make sure you're subscribed so you never miss another update. But let's get to the next thing. Again, it's very important because a lot of people have been asking me about the $52 billion CHIPS bill. So let's talk about that. This $52 billion package of subsidies, this is for the U.S. semiconductor sector. Now, the funding for this is needed, but many experts question, is $52 billion enough? Well, let's address that. Originally, Congress wanted to pass more than $250 billion for this CHIPS bill, right? For semiconductors, for chips manufacturing. However, due to our national deficit and the current rate of inflation, many lawmakers over the past year simply opted to shrink the bill. This is exactly why we settled on just $52 billion. But is this enough? Well, simple answer is no. This is not enough. According to multiple experts, This plan that they currently have in place, this will require hundreds of billions of dollars in additional funding, subsidies, whatever. And it's going to require more than 10 years to become more of a powerhouse in chips manufacturing. Here's the problem. Experts currently say that countries like Taiwan and China and South Korea, we'll even throw them in there. These are the countries that are powerhouses, just big players in this game, because their chip production is less expensive by 25 to 40%. That's what experts are telling us. So, is $52 billion going to be enough to make up the difference of that 25 to 40%? In most cases, no. This is not going to be enough, and this is why many believe this is a $52 billion mistake that lawmakers are just going to keep adding to, because they can't be like, hey, can you guys give us $52 billion? The taxpayers are like, oh yeah, let's give you $52 billion. We give them $52 billion, then they come back in a year and be like, ran out of money. Can you give us another $50 billion? And we're like, well, we're already in at $50 billion. What's another $50 billion? Okay, let's give you $50 billion. Then they come back the next year and they're like, yeah, we ran out of money again. We might need another $50 billion. It is easier for lawmakers to ask for a little bit, then come back and ask for more because they ran out, than to ask for the full $200, $300, $400, $500 billion that is needed to actually make us a powerhouse. So again, that's the problem here, is this mistake is only going to get bigger, at least according to multiple reports. Now, let's talk about the up-and-coming government funding bill. We know it's coming. It happens every single September. It's nothing new. The only difference is this will be President Biden's first year really crafting his own budget. Well, currently, Democrats are struggling. They're trying to do everything that they can to try to get something passed before the midterm elections. But not only that, they want to get something passed now. They want to get something passed within the next 2 weeks. Because guess what? In 2 weeks, actually 2 weeks from today, Congress will be on a recess for the entire month of August, or the majority of August, and for the first, I believe, week of September. So, what are they trying to do? They're trying to get their priorities passed now. And if they cannot get their priorities passed now, they're going to push these different priorities into the government funding bill, which is going to make that a little bit harder to pass. Now, what are they going to push into this next bill? We know there's some question marks regarding additional stimulus. We've seen it. That there are some lawmakers that are pushing to see something called inflation checks. Now, some say sending money to the American people to combat inflation is just going to cause more inflation. And that is somewhat true. But that's not the only thing that lawmakers are requesting at this time. We know Senator Patty Murray out of Washington. She wants to see another $10 billion go to COVID funding. We know Patrick Leahy. He wants $5 billion to go to international COVID funding. Senator Bernie Sanders, he wants to expand prescription drug reform so that it actually covers more medications. Well, that's something that's still on the table as of right now. We know Senator Sherrod Brown, he wants to include more money for affordable housing. He says right now there's just not enough affordable housing. We need more. We also know that Senator Bob Casey, he wants to push about tens of billions of dollars towards long-term health care for elderly and disabled. And honestly, the list of these different priorities goes on and on. Every single lawmaker has a list of probably 5 to 10 priorities they want to fund. Well, that's an issue because there's not that much money. If every single lawmaker has 5 to 10 different priorities that they want to fund, the problem is we are limited with funds. Everything right now is simply being held up because of two people. Senators Joe Manchin and Senator Chuck Schumer. Both of these people are trying to work together to get a bill passed as soon as possible that's going to include prescription drug reform and also, according to reports, a 2-year extension of the Affordable Care Act subsidies? Well, based on the recent reports, we now know that there would be an increase in net revenue of around $250 billion. So this is why all senators are trying to get in line to get their priorities met. Because again, we are on a time crunch here. We have a deadline. And this is where some are saying we either pass something now, we wait until we come back from recess so we have time to regroup and see what our constituents want to get passed. Well, we're going to see what happens because again, we got 2 weeks before lawmakers go on recess. Once they go on recess, we're going to see what happens. So that's what we know at this time. Again, there's a lot of stuff going on, but as I know more, I promise I'll come back on and share all latest news and updates. Again, thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.